Welcome to another episode of the Hunt Suburbia podcast, and I've got Dan Jaros and Stephen Champa on, two good friends, and Dan's had a successful season so far. Champa has as well. We're going to talk through both of those. Talk a little bit about Spooky. I'm going to go in and hunt him tomorrow. First, probably the only time I'll be able to hunt him this week. And before we started, dude, you guys were talking about how tomorrow is a great day for pressure. And that's one of the things that I haven't studied too much. Like I try to keep the noise out because I'll figure that, sometimes I overthink things. And if I have too much noise and too many things that I'm overthinking, then I just get into a bad headspace. So one thing is like moon phase, I don't know much about, and pressure, I don't know much about. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about that kind of to open the podcast? Then Dan will get into your season and Steve's season so far as well.
Yeah, I definitely don't. Well,
you probably know
to
more
start,
than I do about that.
yeah, to start, I don't think the moon has like as much of an effect around here as it does closer to the poles. Like I think if you get up into Canada, those guys they live by the moon. They're all about moon phases and hunting. But with barometric pressure, it's when that barometric pressure starting to peak, it definitely causes the deer to feed, and you feel it in your bones when the barometric pressure is high. And with this cold front we have coming, the temperature's declining and the pressure's increasing, and it's going to keep the deer on their feet longer tomorrow. And they're going to be, it's that time of year too. Like a lot of people I talk to and communicate with, they're always like late October scrape week, and this week coming is like the week to set a scrape. These dates, the last couple days of October through Halloween, it's really ideal situation tomorrow and Tuesday. Tuesday's even better because it's supposed to be colder and the pressure is going to be over 30.4, I think is what Dan said.
What is barometric pressure? Do you know what? Can you just explain that?
Not a weatherman.
No, you just know when it's above a certain point, it's good.
When
Yeah,
it's above a certain threshold, it's really good. It's got to do something with like a front or some sort of weather front that's causing more or less barometric pressure.
Dan, do you know what it is?
Not necessarily. I know like how it changes with storms and stuff like that, and low pressure is always a storm. Always found it interesting. It's kind of like obscure, but like old people that have arthritis, they like their joints hurt, like either like during a storm or after or whatever. I feel like maybe it actually is like pressure in the air, like pressure on your body. I could be making this up.
No, it's true. There's studies that say like increased and decreased barometric pressure does affect, you know, your body.
Huh.
Pat's Googling it right now, 100%.
Yeah. Atmospheric pressure, also known as barometric pressure, is the pressure within the atmosphere of the Earth. That's all it says.
Pretty
caused by the gravitational attraction of the planet and the atmospheric gases above the surface, and is a function of the mass of the planet. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, I don't know. I want to see like what does that mean for actual deer hunting. But if tomorrow is like a really good day for barometric pressure, and Steve, you say Tuesday is even better.
Yeah, Tuesday it's peak. Going to be like stupid high. It's going to be almost the same as tomorrow, but just a little. Like I think it's going to be like 30. It's over 30, which is good.
So here's my predicament on this buck. I have a scrape that the one that he has hit the most.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of out in the middle of his nighttime activity. I know where he's bedding. He comes out of that bedding and he hits various scrapes. But this is the one that closest to his bedding. It's still about 400 yards from it.
Nothing for a deer though.
And I know, but this, I'm actually not hunting a huge patch of woods. I mean, it's like 60 acres, so it's not huge, and he sticks to that core pretty much. No daylight pictures of him yet, but the scrape he hits the most is the one that I had my stand at previously. I moved it a few days ago closer to his bedding. But when I moved it, I built a ground blind, nice ground blind. I've got real 18 yards to that scrape. I've got really good back cover. And tomorrow I'm trying to figure out, I have him at 7:30 tonight. He's out, he's moving about. But the thing is, when you get closer to his bedding, where my stand is now, it's a 200 yard wide patch of woods that he has to travel through. So it's a funnel, but
Right.
I don't have. I only can. I was talking to Dan before the podcast. I have 20 trees I can hunt him from. I counted them when I was in the stand. From the 500-foot radius from houses. There's literally like this tiny sliver that I can hunt him and have a stand in, but only 2 of those trees are climbable, really. I mean, there's a bunch of small ones. I'm in one nice tree, but it doesn't cover, most of that 200-yard funnel. But at least it's still, he has to pinch through that 200 yards. It's a good
What's
chance to see him there.
what scrape has he not hit? What scrape has it been the longest since he's hit? I mean, that's kind of where I would play it. If there's been a scrape he hasn't hit in
Yeah.
3 or 4 days,
There's quite a,
tomorrow's gonna
quite,
be that day.
yeah, there's quite a few of those.
Yeah.
But the problem is those are farther away from his bedding, and he just seems like a deer that's getting back to his bedding right around daylight every day.
Right.
So I'm trying to get close enough to his bedding. So I think my 2 options tomorrow are to sit that ground blind, which is 400 yards from his bedding, or sit the stand that I have right now in the funnel, which is
And
200 yards.
That one that's 400 yards away is the one you said he most frequents, right?
It's the one I've got him, the most times on camera.
If you don't have him at daylight, though, I would want to be as close as possible to his bed.
Yeah, that's true. But tomorrow's the day. Tomorrow's also the day where he's going to spend more time out, probably in daylight.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it really is a coin flip. No matter what you do, he's going to go to the opposite one.
Yep.
I know. And then one's I'll be on the ground, which I don't mind, and it's a good setup. I think it's I would kill him there as if I was in a stand anyway, just the way that it's built. But I don't know. I think I'm going to go to sleep and wake up I got a 4 a.m. alarm, wake up and just check and see if he was out hitting any other scrapes, if I had him on camera anywhere else. If he's at like the farthest scrape away, close to 4 when I'm waking up, maybe I have a chance to slip into that scrape that's 400 yards away, because I know he's out there. He's not closer to his bedding. It's a north wind, like hardly any wind, 5-6 miles an hour. So it'll probably be super still. What's that?
Strictly north, no west in it.
It's north for the first couple hours, and it says at 9 it's going northwest.
Yeah, that's fine.
Which is really good because his bedding is south. Coming back in, I'll have the wind in my favor. But so is that ground blind. It's he would be north of me, and the wind would be coming right in my face. Both of those are good setups for the wind. It's just which one do I pick? But I don't know.
Flip a coin, buddy.
Yeah,
we'll flip a coin. We'll check the cameras in the morning, see what the heck happens. But I was talking to Dan too. This deer, I don't know. There hasn't been a deer that I've hunted. I've never hunted like a singular deer before.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I have been doing that this year, like he's the most, I have the most videos, most pictures of any buck. And I've got 30 or 40 cameras out in a bunch of places. He's the one that I have the most of. I actually know where he's bedding. He seems almost easier to figure out, but I still haven't seen him in person, but he seems easier to figure out. 10-year-old mature buck. Maybe it's because he's used to his ways and he's staying real close, has a tight core. Maybe those bucks are easier to figure out than 4 and 5-year-olds,
A lot of people say the older deer get, the smaller their core gets.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of people I talk to that say the same thing. They're like, yeah, this deer's living in 100 acres and it's, up on a mountain somewhere or, in big country. And it's, this deer doesn't leave this 100-acre piece until the rut comes, and then he goes and he travels around. But I mean, it makes sense. One of the deer I'm hunting, same thing, suburban deer, and he's bouncing between 150, 60-acre piece, 20-acre piece, another probably 30-acre piece, and it's like he doesn't leave that area. If I don't have him there, I have him here, or I have he's always close.
They don't get that big.
But it's definitely what's that?
They don't get that big by just going everywhere. They're like, all right, I've survived my whole life in these spots. Like I see less people in these spots. I don't have to worry about things in these spots, less coyotes, whatever, and shit, that's what you do too,
100%. You're not gonna run the gauntlets. You're gonna stay where you're safe.
Yeah.
All right. We'll maybe loop back in later with him. Hopefully I get a picture of him while we're sitting here talking, and then I'll bring it back up. But
buddy him.
dude, Since Dan has killed the most recently here, and he got a nice buck, and you guys met up today, and you helped Dan cape it out, right, Steve? And
Yep.
and you measured it too. Was it official
Yep.
measurement for MBBC? Oh no, it's got to
It's
be 60
green.
days.
It's
3 and
green.
4.
Yeah, got to be 60 days.
Yep.
But Dan, do you want to kind of talk about that a little bit? That deer history with him, how you set up on him, and that kind of stuff. And Steve, chime in at any point and ask some questions.
Yeah. I was trying to think. I like the way Rodney Elmer does it. He they all name their bucks after they shoot them, and they name them however the story was or whatever. Because I don't know, I've kind of done that with a couple too, just whatever, however the situation played out. And I was trying to think about this one. And I was actually talking to Steve about this earlier today, and because whenever you shoot a good one, it's so important to just be why did this happen? What led to this? Why was he here? Where was he coming from? Where was he going to? And just try to figure out as much of it and learn from it as you can. And I was I want to call this buck the 8.9 pointer, which sounds weird, but there was a culmination of a lot of different things. It was probably the biggest culmination of little things that came together on this. And been trying to do that, just stack. It's so hard. Every deer you shoot, there's a huge element of luck. And the people that do it consistently, they just stack all those little chips in their favor. And I've been trying to just get better about that. So this one, I have historical knowledge in this area. I've actually never hunted this spot before. There's a spot only 400 yards away, a scrape that I was hunting a lot the past 2 years, and I got some really big deer on it. Got some good activity, but not much during the day, and it's too open. And just the times that I get pictures of deer, they're just not close enough to hear, and I didn't feel like I was close enough to them. So it was historical knowledge, number one. Number two, I went out and did summer scouting this year, which sucks. It's just kind of when I have the time to do my scouting. But I scouted a whole new area, just found where it was thicker, where I thought they could be bedding, started walking runs. Number three was just finding a new community scrape, which turned out to be a very good community scrape, probably the most active one I've ever found. With that, I found it. I was this is my spot. I'm gonna put a camera here. I only have one camera in this whole area. Started running Chad's scents. Chad from Backyard Scents. I'm firmly in on the whole licking branch thing. So community scrape, start using scents, started getting deer coming in there, started getting pictures of this deer along with a bunch of other bucks. Actually, this was the biggest one. This is the biggest deer I had any pictures of in mass, which isn't saying a ton because he's not a giant deer. I'd love to find a super giant deer, but still obviously very good deer. But he was the biggest one in the area. Basically, the problem with him was that he would only ever show up between 3 a.m. and 3:15 a.m. The exception of one time he came in at 11:30 at night. But that means so many people post this nighttime picture of a deer, and you're probably not anywhere near that deer. That's kind of what I figured for this one. I was I can't even get him close to daylight. So he's probably living somewhere else. He might come here. My best shot is just we were talking about, cold front, just waiting for the right time to hunt it. And late October cold fronts. I mean, so many people talk about them. I haven't shot many bucks in October, but the couple that I've shot were on cold fronts in the end of October. That's when you're going to get them coming a little bit later back to bed, So that was in my favor. But last week it was warm. I didn't hunt for 5 days, and it drove me crazy to some degree because people, I mean, you guys, that I'm in the unfortunate position of being in a group text with Pat and then Chad from Backyard Sense, and they just every morning I just wake up to 20 new videos of these giant bucks everywhere. And I'm you guys got a lot of daytime pictures of bucks during the heat last week, which was kind of interesting. I mean, granted, you have enough cameras over New England and stuff, you're going to get that, but
yeah,
it was driving me crazy. And I'm no, I gotta wait. I gotta wait for the cold front. So I did. I waited till Friday. That's when I was this is my best chance at it. So
Dan called it too. He
I
called it.
I was
wasn't
just
going
gonna.
to bring this up. I don't want to sound like a
Listen,
douchebag.
What do
no,
you?
no, no, no. On Wednesday, I saw Dan, and he goes, "I'm gonna kill one Friday morning," and I was like, "You think so?" He's like, "I got $6. I'm gonna like that. I would shoot. Like it's this front's hitting. It's gonna happen." And he like, and there was a lot of people that a lot of people said the same thing. It's like Friday's the day, and I mean, it was a great morning because we had like a 30-degree temperature swing around here that the weather went from 70 to 40, and the morning was, how cold was it that morning, Dan?
It was the low there was 42.
Yeah,
So it wasn't super cold, but it was like the low from just from the night before was 55. So that's like a big
right,
drop. And the daytime high was 20 degrees lower, which was huge.
Yeah,
right,
Dan called it in that group chat too. He
yeah.
said, I mean, he didn't say he was going to kill him, but he said Bucks are going to hit the ground tomorrow.
Yeah,
And then they did.
right, they did.
So I was the previous Friday, so a week before, I was at a concert in Boston with my buddies, and I had a bunch of beers, and I was just like rocking out, like jamming out. Great show. And it was 10 o'clock at night. I went back and looked at my text. All I could think about was deer. I'm just like trying to have a good time, just trying to be a normal person. And like all I could think about was this scrape and like how like I was gonna go about it and everything. And I texted Nick at 10:15 p.m. on Friday. I was like, I was like, on this next cold front at the end of next week, I'm gonna kill a deer on this scrape. Um, and I was like, and I told him I go screenshot this. He texted me back. This is even weirder. He texted me back and he goes, I'm going to kill a giant spike on the spot that we call Hank Hill. He goes, the same day. So, funny story, just to change gears real quick. We did double up. He shot a buck within 2 minutes of me that morning. He actually was at full draw on a spike horn, oddly enough. And then this other 8-pointer walked in and he just like switched over and shot that one. So I mean, like it came to play, like we talked about it, but that just goes to show you, like these cold fronts, like you can see it coming. Like
Right,
that's the time to do it. So,
you
uh,
manifested it.
dude, you know how many times I do that though? Like, I was talking to someone else. I was like, yeah, the plan, like everything went exactly to plan. But you know how many times like I go out there with
It
this
doesn't.
every time I
Yeah,
hunt, I have a specific plan, and if it were to work out, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is why it worked out. But 99 times out of 100, it doesn't work out. This was just the time that it did. So, but yeah, anyways, I got up super early, drove down. I just want to give myself plenty of time. My access is just like bulletproof here. And I've been trying to be better about that too, because I feel like I'm not great about that at times. But there's only from where I go in, I don't want to give away like too many details, but from where I go in, there's really only like a 20-yard trail where they can catch my boot scent. Um, and by that point, they're within range anyways. So I was pretty bulletproof on that. But anyways, I get in there super early, get all my stuff set up and filming. Had a doe come by at like 15 yards, probably like 15 yards after, or 15 minutes after shooting light. I was like, okay, this is perfect. Went right through the scrape. I mean, it's thick in here and I can shoot this scrape and I really can't shoot much else. So you don't need to. Like, that's where they're going to come. There's a major run. They all hit it. So, I let her clear the area. It was like 20 minutes or so. And you can call me like the rattling man now.
Yeah,
I'm all about rattling.
you
after
are.
so the first time I ever successfully rattled was just last week when I was with you, Pat. I rattled that 5-pointer in, and
Yeah.
that was so cool. Like I've never rattled much, but I've certainly never rattled one in, and I was like,
Have you
this
been
is
afraid to do it? It's like you're afraid that you're gonna blow your
it's
spot up,
weird.
or
It's weird making a lot of noise in the woods, and I've always looked at people that like rattle, because I don't know, dude. I've heard people rattling in the woods, and I'm just like, dude, this is awful. Like, I know you're a hunter, So
you
I'm
know what's
like,
crazy? When you were rattling, when you rattled that 5-pointer in, I couldn't. I was sitting there listening to it because Steve, me and Dan were hunting like, I don't know, 80 yards away from each other or 100
yeah,
yards away, and we were planning on rattling back and forth. He did it, and then a half hour later I would, and I heard him, and I was just like, that to me just it sounded so fake because it was almost you were almost on a rhythm, you were so like your hard ones would be like every 3 seconds, and then it was like I was like that sounds fake, but you fooled that 5 pointer,
Fooled
and
the
then
little.
you obviously got this fucking nice deer.
So
um
I tried doing a little different because you had said something. I'm like just trying to learn from everyone, and you had said that you won't hit them together super hard this time of year because they're not. And like I was thinking about that. I'm like that's totally true because like the couple of like fights I've either gotten on video or like witnessed in person, like the super hard ones are in November. This time of year, it's like
yeah,
October. It's still like a sparring, but I kind of like this is my territory type of thing. So I changed it, and I got to send you the video because I videoed me rattling this one in, and I tried to like keep it a little bit lighter, like between sparring and fighting, kind of. I don't know. But anyways, I did that, and it was like put my horns in my bag, and it's thick in here, which is nice because I feel like those open
yeah,
areas we can't necessarily get away with it because the deer is just going to look and be like, number one, I don't hear ground noise. Number two, I don't see anything. But here, I didn't even see this deer till he was 30 yards away. Like it's thick enough that you can get away with that. I did have a beech tree right behind me too, and I would take an antler, I'd like hit it against the beech tree, so it sounded like there was other stuff going on. But it was like 3 minutes after I rattled, I hear a deer come in. I was like, oh sweet, a deer. I was like, it's pretty close. And I see like a little bit of antler, and I was like, okay, like it's a buck. And I was like, nice enough to shoot. I thought it was like a 2-year-old or something. So I get my bow, I pull it off the hanger, and I'm kind of waiting. And he's gonna come. I turn my camera on, and my camera is right on that scrape. I'm like, this is gonna be like absolutely perfect. He stops. He's like coming in from my 3 o'clock. I'm in a saddle, and he starts like turning like he's gonna come behind me. And I'm like, no, don't do this. Like I can't get it on film that way. Like it's super hard to shoot your 3 o'clock that way. And like now he's already at 15 yards. So like now I have to come up and over my bridge and like get in that position. So,
which sucks.
oh, dude, it's the worst. It's like
Yeah.
the one bad spot for it to happen.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I learned a good lesson in that I had one come in the exact same way. And it's easier when you're going to shoot behind you, like at your 6 o'clock. If you spin to your left as a righty, that's super easy. However, you're putting your back to the deer for like however long it takes you to spin around. And I got busted doing that when I really thought I wasn't gonna. So I did not want to take the chance because the deer was so close at this point. So I was like, all right, I got to come up over my bridge. I'm looking at him and just trying to move while I'm looking at him. I'm like, my bow like will not move. I don't know what's going on. I look up, my broadhead's just like buried against the tree. I'm like, come on, like don't do this. He like picked his head up at this point, and I saw the 5 points on one side, and he had way more mass than I thought. And I was like, holy shit, like don't fuck this up. This is like a really nice buck. And I thought it might be that big one too that was in there. So it was like either way, like he's gonna get an arrow if I can. So I was able to come around. He didn't know. He comes in. I drew back, and I don't know if he heard me or whatever, but he like stopped as soon as I drew back, but like didn't just for like maybe a second or two. Takes another step, and I was like 2 more steps, and he's in like a nice lane. He's at 10 yards now, and he's like sniffing the ground, and I'm like, fuck, I think he might be smelling my boot tracks. I wasn't
yeah,
really sure where I came in. And I'm like, oh no, like I have to make this happen now. Like it's not super ideal. So like I lean into my bridge as much as I can. I'm like going here and I clear it so there's like a tree over his shoulder kind of. And I can see maybe like this much behind his shoulder. And there's like two small little blueberry, like the end of blueberry branches. Wasn't actually blueberries, I just call them that. But they were super close to him, and I'm like, I think I can get one in there. I'm like, I have to try. Like, this is it. You get an opportunity at like a good deer, you got to try to make it happen. Like a lot of the people that kill a lot of deer, like you, Champa, like, dude, you make it happen. Like, you have to make it happen.
You
You
miss
want
100% of the shots you don't take.
yeah, yeah. I mean, had it gone the other way, I'd be like, oh, I should have just waited 2 more steps. But when they're smelling your boots, you gotta, it's kind of like the jig's up. You can't plan on them taking those couple of steps. So that was it. I just kind of like, I tried to get between those branches and I let it fly. And I heard him, he did like a, like when I hit him, which I thought was really good. And I didn't get a pass through, but he took off with the arrow in him. It came out super quick, and it looks like I hit him perfect. But without a pass through, you just don't know. Like I was just like instantly like, oh my god, I hope I got him. Like the panic, like you're just elated, and then you start panicking, like because I'm like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna have a good blood trail because it was a 10-yard shot. Entry is gonna be super high, like I'm just like, oh, this is gonna be a long thing, nah. I heard him go like 100 yards, and I couldn't hear anything, but I didn't hear him crash. So I was like, it happened so quick that I didn't really get rattled. Like we were talking about this last week, Pat. Like I'd so much rather it happen kind of quick, so you can kind of compose yourself. And afterwards, I just like I call my dad, he didn't pick up. And then, oh yeah, this is the cool part. So I call my dad, which I always do as soon as I shoot. He didn't pick up. I go to text Nick because I knew he was out too. And I go to text him, and I just shot, and I look, and 3 minutes prior, he had sent me a text saying, "Hey, just shot a buck." And I was like, no fucking way. This is awesome. He doubled up. Like I've never doubled up with someone before. So that was cool. I ended up calling him, and he says he thinks he got it and everything. So it was cool. And then I just lost it. And then I'm just like, this shake starts setting in. And I love that, man. Like, that's so much fun. It's just like the coolest part about it. I'm just like breathing heavy. I'm like, my God, like if I wasn't tethered in, like sometimes I gotta like be careful, like slow myself down. Cause like I go to like start getting out of the tree, and I'm like, oh, I don't even have my lineman's belt around the tree. And I'm just like, right now.
Well, Dan sent me a Snapchat, and he's like this. I'm like, oh, he called it. I'm like, he called it.
That's
um,
awesome. And it ended up being your biggest buck, right?
Yeah. I got down, got the arrow. I saw I'd gotten like it ended up actually going through his other side, which I didn't know at the time. But yeah, I found him. He ran 100 yards and piled up, so I found him pretty quickly. But yeah, it turns out to be my biggest rack buck, which we finally figured out today. I was talking to this guy in Nebraska, and he was just talking about deer and all this and that, and I was like, dude, I've shot like a number of deer over 4 years old. I was like, I've never broken 130 inches. He's like, what do you mean? That's weird. And I'm like, well, not really. I was like, I shot like a 6-year-old a few years ago that was only like 120 inches. He's like, what do you hunt out there? And I'm like, I don't know. This is where we live.
Welcome to New England.
Yeah.
Yeah, finally
Where
broke.
you where a 6-year-old's either a freak or it's a 120-inch buck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Right. But
yeah.
no, he's cool. He had a lot of mass, tall tines. Yeah, finally broke 130 inches. So I'm super pumped. That was cool. It was cool to double up. Nick shot a really nice 8-pointer too. We went back, got some pictures, and it was Friday. Had all day. Like it was super nice out. Like I like totally blew off work too because I mean I kind of work for myself, but like I didn't even open my email all day. I was just like I'm gonna enjoy this whole thing. And we went back to the house, had a bunch of beers and stuff, took some pictures, so it was cool.
Hey, you have to, man. You have to.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Steve saw the deer and green scored it today, and
It's impressive. It's a nice
when
buck.
you know what makes it so much more impressive, and I still just don't get why it doesn't count toward the score, is the mass all the way through the tines. Like
Yeah,
the
Yeah,
tines were the same as his, the main beam in some points. It was just
yeah.
thick all the way through. I mean,
yeah.
beautiful deer.
No, it was.
I think that the 2s and 3s were both over 8 inches. I mean, they were super nice. And like you said, they just carried the mass all the way through. It was beautiful deer.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't wait to see it mounted.
yeah.
Couple of things you talked about, Dan. I want to get Steve's perspective on rattling and rattling in thick places versus wide open hardwoods or where they can see a long time. Do you have experience with that, and what have you found? Like obviously rattling in the thick places, they can't see as well, so they're much more likely to get closer to you, trying to figure out what's going on. I want to get your perspective on that, and then your boot track coming in, Dan. um, do you guys, both you guys, do you put dough and heat? Because most of the time, especially around this time now, I'll pour dough and heat down on the ground and then stomp my boots around in it before I walk into my stand. And like tomorrow, if I'm gonna go sit that stand for spooky, I'm gonna walk in and I'm gonna walk like a 20-yard kind of circle around my stand to try to get them to just be strategic about it. Where if he is coming in on it and gets a whiff on it, then he's going to be in my shooting lanes. What have you seen, Steve, on that and with rattling?
You're brave. I don't. If I'm hunting a scrape, I don't like to go anywhere near it. I
don't
want to stay
either.
away from it, and I want the wind in my face, and I
Same
don't
thing.
want I don't
No,
want the deer. I don't want to even go near that scrape because if he, yeah, doe and heat smell. I don't use any like. I'm kind of weird. I'm like, it might be a flaw of mine, but I mean, I've had some decent luck over the years, but I'm a super minimalist. Like when it comes to turkey hunting or deer hunting, I literally carry four tethered one sticks, and then a predator platform on my back. I wear my saddle and I carry my bow in my hand. I don't carry a backpack with like an extra layer. I don't carry rattling antlers. If I have a grunt call, I slide it in my pocket. Like I'm very, very minimalist when I go in the
Well,
woods.
shit,
And for
huh?
turkeys, it's the same thing. Um, so and to be honest, I've tried rattling a bunch. I've tried like the times where it's like, okay, I'll throw a rattle bag in my pocket or something like that. I've gone out. I've just never had luck with it. And there's a lot of people that hunt New England that say the same thing, and then they go out west to like Iowa or Illinois or Ohio or Indiana, and they're like, yeah, I rattled 4 bucks in today. And it's like I've rattled, endless times in the Northeast and never had a response from it. And it's like you go out there and you rattle in 4 bucks in 10 minutes, and
yeah,
I think it has a lot to do with our deer density too. We definitely have
Yeah.
a lower deer density than out there. Um, but yeah, as far as anything on my feet or anything, I like to just be low impact, like very inconspicuous. Like my where I'm gonna hunt tomorrow, my access there's water on the downwind side, and I'm just gonna walk the water right up, and then I literally have to go like 50 yards up a bank, and my wind's gonna be blowing right over the water. So it's like going in and out, and the deer come from you know above the scrape, and they kind of work around this point. But
yep.
I like my access tomorrow is absolutely bulletproof in and out. It's there I can get in there as long as there's nothing at the scrape. I get in clean, and when I get out, I just drop down the bank, walk along the edge of the water, and I'm out.
That's good.
So like I want like the thing if there's like a camera on the scrape or something like and you got to put batteries in it, I'll do that after my morning hunt. But uh, I don't know. I just like to be very low impact. I just don't want the deer to even have any idea I'm there because you can usually get like if there's any in my this is just personally my opinion if there's anything that's going on and they like sense people or sense danger, like that scrape will go cold if you're hunting a scrape. Like it won't go cold, but it might turn in from, hey, I was having bucks every day on this thing or in every morning, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, they're just coming in at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night now. Where if I can get in and out relatively clean, I can hunt that scrape for 3, 4, 5 days before the deer even know my presence.
Yeah, that's true.
I totally agree with you on the scrape thing. Like if I'm hunting a scrape, which I'm leaning on not hunting the scrape tomorrow
Hmm.
and hunting the place closer to his bedding, but I don't go out to that scrape. Chad will tell me, no, go spray my scent in the scrape. And Pat Burns is like, go put dough and heat. He's like, dump some dough and heat in the scrape. And I always say to him, like, dude, I just would rather be downwind of it and
Hmm.
not even go out even close to that scrape so that there's no chance of it. But what's the problem with tomorrow is that my access is from the north. It's from the north west, and I
Okay.
have to walk 400 yards southeast to get to my stand. And there's a high probability that if like Spooky's still out there doing his nighttime stuff north of me, coming back to his bedding, he's going to cross my boot track at some point. So
Yeah.
that's where I like to just put some dough and heat on it, just in case. He's going to smell me
Yeah.
anyway. He's not
Right.
going to. He's going to separate. But if there's dough and heat, bucks all react to that differently too. I've had bucks walk my scent trail all the way in when I have dough and heat on my boots. All the way from young bucks to mature bucks, walk it all the way in, and then some I've seen get up to my boot track and just spook out of there. I mean, I don't know what type of personality he's going to be yet because I haven't seen it happen. But um,
He's seen a lot.
he's seen a lot. He's avoided a
That
lot of hunters, dude.
that deer isn't
Yeah.
he's no dummy.
You'll
He
No,
grew
learn.
that
You'll
he grew
learn
that big for a
if
reason.
it's right or not pretty soon.
Yeah.
but isn't it so funny? Everybody's got so many different things. Pat
But
Burns like, no, dump dough and heat right in a scrape.
Yeah,
You
that's
know, and
interesting.
that's the good thing about hunting is there's a million ways to skin a cat.
yeah,
There's
Yeah.
everybody's got their way they do it, and it's all preference. It's hey, I've had good luck with this, or yeah, I've had bad luck with this, and that's it. A lot of things in life, more than just hunting. People have one bad experience with something, and they're like, hey, I'm never doing that again. Where there's sometimes you do it 10, 12 times and you're like, hey, this has been working for me, so this is what I'm going to do.
I think one thing about the sense thing, I think if you're going to go up to a scrape, because I pretty much do this. Like every time I hunt a scrape, I will hit it with the scent, the licking branch stuff. Like I am
After you
thou-
hunt, right?
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, me
I'm
too.
1,000% in on doing that. I think it's kind of weird that when I set up a new camera or something and I do licking branch sense or something in the scrape, a lot of times there's pee in the scrape too. It's interesting to me, and this has happened to you guys too, like that text we're on. Um, we always bust Chad's balls. We're like, hey, dude, you give me money back. It only took an hour for a deer to show up. But like, how often does that happen where like the
Yeah,
deer will show up that day? And I think maybe even if they smell your boots or whatever, they're like, oh man, there's been deer in here. Like there was just deer in here. Like they hit this licking branch, they hit the scrape, like the scrapes opened up. Wonder if they're just like, okay, there was a
a
person
human
in here.
walkthrough too. Yeah,
Yeah, but there's been a bunch of deer here. Like, holy shit, I don't
yeah.
even know who these deer are. So like maybe adding sense if you have to make that intrusion, maybe that kind of changes it. I don't know.
Deer are curious, man. I mean, how many times like I've missed deer before, and my Luminox sitting there on the ground, and here comes that deer, same deer back. Like, what is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
If in your, and then you shoot them. It's like, or you shoot, a doe, and there's a doe group, and the other does come back. So like, what happened? They come in on high alert, but they're still curious, and I think that pertains a lot to this, the scrape game too. Like, you go in, disturb an area, like you said, it's happened to all of us. You put it like you go put a camera out, and you just like you either you know move a branch out of the way, or you freshen up a scrape, and it's like by the time you get back to your truck, there's already a deer on it, and you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, how did like that's insane. I was just
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Right.
It happened. It happens a lot.
Yeah, and it's funny too how like you freshen up the scrape, you walk out, you get the picture of them, and then all of a sudden, like the next week, there's none. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but then it's also different depending on where you're hunting. It's like I'm hunting a suburban deer right now. Champa does a lot of suburban hunting. Dan, you do some too. But if you're up in the big woods in New Hampshire or Vermont or Maine, that human scent is going to be a lot more of a trigger to
I
them.
totally agree. So like I
They're
probably
used to
do
smelling
more.
a bunch of people walking and dogs walking and stuff, and
Yeah.
I think your scent is just
Yeah.
it's not as big of a
Absolutely.
deal to them.
I
Sense
think
is less impact in suburban areas, 100%.
I
You can get away
totally
with
agree.
marginal wins in suburbs, where in big woods it'll never
Yep.
even. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Yep. They're almost forced because you look at it's like hunting suburbia around here, and I'm pretty split. Like I'd say probably do a little bit more big woods than I do suburbia, but like hunting suburbia is kind of like the Midwest, where there's in the big woods they can literally be anywhere. In suburbia, there's a whole lot of places that they can't be or they're not going to be, kind of like in the Midwest, and it just kind of narrows stuff down. So even if there is a little human intrusion, they have to go there, like because
It's
that's
tolerated.
the best spot here, and they're used to smelling people, and they're. I learned it in like high school. I had an animal behavior class. It was really cool, and they talk about it's called like the elasticity effect and how like depending on the deer density and stuff like they will change what they perceive to be their like safe zone. And I always found that like kind of interesting, and I feel like when they come up to houses and stuff like that, like that's their like they have a shorter safe zone, but then in the bigger woods it like really opens up and they won't like tolerate as much. But yeah, you're totally right about that.
What do you want from your trail cameras? I know what I want. You basically just want to make sure that if a buck walks in front of it, the camera is capturing it, plain and simple, right? And with cell cameras, you want to make sure that after it captures it, it's getting sent to you and it's not getting hung up somewhere. And you don't have to worry about, oh, did you format the SD card the right way? Or did you use the right SIM card with the right cellular network? Or what did you do that is making this image get caught up? With Moultrie Mobile, you don't have to worry about that. I've been using Moultrie Mobile cell cams for 5 years now. The ones that I bought 5 years ago are still working. They're outdated now, but they're still working. But this year I'm running 20 Moultrie Edge 2 Pro cell cams. And I know when I put that into a tree, it is giving me the confidence that it's working. And there's brands out there where you just don't know, and you don't have the confidence when it's up in a tree, and then you have to talk to customer service, and you have to go through a whole line of troubleshooting items. With the Moultrie mobile cameras, they make it super simple. They have an auto connect feature, which will find the strongest cell signal around from the 4 major networks and automatically connect to that, so you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to install a SIM card. You don't have to bring an SD card and format it. Everything is built into the camera. The technology is all built into it, and that leads to a reliable camera that I can be confident in. And if you guys are looking for the right cell cam, if you already run cell cameras, you run different brands, I recommend getting a couple of these Moultrie Edge 2 Pros or any of the Edge 2 cell cams in there in that series, and just give them a shot. Run them against the other cameras that you have, and you'll be happy with the results. So go check them out. Don't just capture images, gather intelligence with the Moultrie Mobile Edge 2 camera series paired with the super simple and easy to use Moultrie Mobile app. You can learn more at moultrieproducts.com. Vortex Optics has sponsored the podcast. I have been a user of Vortex my entire bow hunting career. I've used their Diamondback 10 by 42 binoculars. I've used their laser rangefinder. And when I went out to North Dakota, I used a spotting scope out there, one of their angled spotting scopes to spot game far away. And Vortex is just a great company. I've obviously gotten to know them at Huntstock over the past few years. And they've got great customer service, an awesome warranty program, and really good optics that don't break the bank. So if you guys are in need of any binoculars, scopes, they've got, red dots and other optics for rifles and gun hunting, or, binos, rangefinders, spotting scopes, tripods. You cannot go wrong with Vortex. So visit www.vortexoptics.com. Yep. Steven, why don't you update us on your season so far? You've got how old's your kid now?
A year and 4 months.
A year and 4 months. So you had, well, basically last season when your kid's so young, you get away with it because
Yeah, because
they're
he's pretty. They don't run around. They don't. They're pretty self sufficient. You can put them somewhere with a bottle and a diaper, and they're good. And my wife was on maternity leave last year season, so
right.
I got to hunt a lot more. And this year, I've definitely been more selective with my hunting. I've had ample opportunity to hunt, but I've just been more selective, just in being present, being a good dad. I don't want to be that dad that my son grows to hate hunting because dad's always hunting. So I've definitely just been a lot more pickier. Cold front days, high pressure days. Just good timing where it's like, okay, we don't have anything going on today. I don't have to rush in and out of the woods. And parenthood changes the way you hunt a lot. Because I used to be that guy that every day I was in the woods. I didn't care if it was snowing. I didn't care if it was sleeting. I didn't care if it was 90 degrees out. I was always in the woods. And I saw a lot of deer, but I never saw a lot of, not a lot, but I didn't see as many quality deer. And now, instead of counting sits, I make my sits count. Um, and I think I've maybe had like 3 or 4 deerless sits this year, and I've probably sat 20 times. Yeah, I'd say 20 times is a good number. And I've had like 3 or 4 deerless sits, so it's definitely hunting more strategically now. But
Efficient. You're
yeah, efficient. Yeah,
a
exactly.
lot
It's
more
it's being
efficient.
it's being more it's being a lot more efficient. I don't those days where it's 90 degrees and you'll see deer the last 2 minutes. A doe group with 2 minutes of legal light left. And that's not what I'm after anymore. I still shoot does. Don't get me wrong. I will forever shoot does, especially where I live because we're allocated 2 doe tags for where this area is. That's always like my first order of business is get those out of the way. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm definitely starting to shift more towards like. I still have a soft spot in my heart for 3-year-olds. I
We
just
were talking about this today.
I can't
I
I
don't think
can't
I
pass
will
them yet.
ever get to a point in my life where I won't shoot a
I hope
3-year-old
I don't get
with
there.
my
Honestly,
bow, anyways.
yeah. I just like Dan said to me earlier today. I can pass a 2-year-old. I can pass a year and a half old. But man, 3-year-olds still make my heart go pitter patter. And that's and And I'm a big believer in that. If it excites you and makes you happy, you should 1000% shoot it. And that's where I'm still at. Like if I see spike horn now, my bow doesn't even get picked up. If I see a 4 pointer or even like a little basket rack 6 pointer, I'm like, cool. I saw a deer today. You know, it was
You might reach a little bit, but you're like, nah.
yeah. I
His
kind of like
hands just start shaking like
yeah.
this.
Like fuck off, get out of here. But yeah, I shot 2 does opening night of New Hampshire. That was a cool set. It's just an oak ridge in between, a swamp and some ag, and um it's just a really good funnel, and it was raining acorns in there, and I had one doe come by like right at like 5 o'clock, 5:30, and she walked right up to me, and I was like very exposed, and she was right underneath me, and I drew, and I was like, she's gonna see me as soon as I draw, so I have to like make the shot happen fast. I drew and I shot her, and then like 20 minutes illegal left, doe and a spike came by, and I shot another doe. Um, so I filled my 2 doe tags for this area the first night, which was really cool.
That's hot.
That is cool.
Yeah, it is. It's nice because then it kind of like pressure's off. It was pressure's off. I got some meat in the freezer. Can focus on shooting a buck now too. Um, and then I really didn't hunt a ton. A little bit. I had a couple sets where I got out and did some exploring and scouting and stuff like that, and then went out scouted, and there was just like a ton of there's a ton of small scrapes, just like no community scrapes or anything like that, but you could just tell bucks were in this area, and they were just like, it was like scrape, you go 20 yards, another small scrape, like there's just any branch that was head height, they were just pawing at it, and they were putting their face in it. And this was October
That's cool.
2nd or 3rd. It was early October, and I was like, man, there's a buck in here that's and I didn't figure it to be a big deer, but I was like, all right, like I'm gonna go sit there. So I sat there the next night. I was in this god awful tree, like right where you want to stand. The tree just went like 45 degrees out, and I was like, "This is awful." I was like tethered in, and like my tether was like at my belly button height, and I was like, "I don't have anywhere to hang my bow." Like I'm like trying to like find stuff to like hang my saddle platform bag on and stuff like that. And I had a doe and 2 fawns come by, and then another fawn went the opposing way. It was like last light, and I'm really starting to have like trouble with hearing my right ear because I used to waterfowl hunt a ton, and I just never wore hearing protection. And I can hear a deer crunching on acorns, and I'm like, where is this thing? And I'm like trying to listen, trying to listen. Finally, I just stick my finger in my ear, and I'm like, oh, it's right there. And I look, and the deer's 20 yards away behind me. Like, oh my god! And I can see the tip of his nose and the tip of the beam. I'm like, oh, it's a buck too. And then finally, like he took a step, and I saw his rack, and it's not a giant buck by any means, but it's a for southern New Hampshire, it's like there's not many people that are gonna pass that deer.
It's
Um,
super cool. It has like 3 beams. It's
yeah,
like
it's
it
cool.
has like a whole like third beam coming out of it. It's wicked cool deer.
It's a cool deer. I didn't even know he had that when I shot him either. I thought he was just
Oh
like a
no shit.
yeah, I thought he was like a basket 8 pointer.
Yeah.
So I drew on him, and he was about to go through this one window, and I was like, that's gonna be my window to shoot him. And like just as I was like starting to settle my pin, he just turns and starts walking right towards me. And I'm like, oh my god, oh my god. He's like coming right underneath me, and I shoot a back tension because I was talking to Dan about this earlier, but I fight target panic pretty bad. And as soon as I took my thumb off the safety, I always like just subconsciously, I always try to put my pin where I want it to be in case when I let off the safety, if something catastrophic happens. And I was at full draw on that deer for no exaggeration, like probably 3 minutes, because he started, he was at 22 yards, and then he walked down. I shot him at like 10 or 11 yards. And how long does a deer with no rush? I mean, how long does it take him to walk 10 yards? 2, 3 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
So I kind of had my pin on his shoulder. And when I let off my safety, the bow went off, and I was like, oh my, I don't even know where I hit that thing. And I heard the catcher's mitt pop though. And I was like, man, and my knock broke. I was talking to Dan about this on Wednesday. I've been having bad luck with Halo knocks, but besides the point, I'm like, can't find my arrow, can't find blood, can't find the deer. I ran to where I went down to where I last saw him run, and eventually I got down there, and he was bleeding like crazy. But I hit a point where he stopped, and there was a big pool of blood. Then I couldn't find any more blood. But I ended up finding him like 100 yards from that point. I hit him high in the shoulder and came out like dead center in his brisket, but I got one lung and nicked the side of the heart. But it was a steep angle shot, and then so I got him, and then I got a doe in Mass the first Saturday of the season. So it's been good. But now I really just been shifting my focus to trying to get a good buck. Um, I got two that are on the top of the priority list in Mass. One's very substantial, and then one's like a nice 140-inch 8 pointer. So that's what I'm going after tomorrow.
Do you have any? Do you want to talk a little bit about the big one that you're hunting?
Not really.
Like no,
Not really.
yeah,
I'll talk about him when he's dead.
yeah.
I mean, if somebody, where he is, he is in a, there is pressure in the area, and if somebody kills him, so be it. I'll be happy for him, but I think I have a really good chance out of here pretty soon. I had him in daylight for the first time the other day.
Do you know where
Uh,
he's bedding at all?
yeah, I got an idea of a corner he's in, but it's smaller pieces, so he can jump a road and bed on, any side of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
main piece of woods per se. He can be 200 yards away, but across the road and be bedded there. But there's definitely areas he favors when he beds in there. Um, there's two that I know of that are like, if he's in that piece that day, he's going to be bedded in one of these two corners. So, but hopefully,
What town was
hopefully.
this?
uh,
Manchester, New Hampshire.
Manchester, New
Yeah.
Hampshire. Yeah, no, I mean, I've put all my eggs in the Massachusetts basket this year. I think Dan can even attest to this.
I did too.
New Hampshire is definitely getting harder as the years go on. We can kill $3 in the state, and our gun season's right in the middle of the rut too, so we can shoot. You could shoot 3 deer during the rut. If you shoot no deer with your bow, you can kill a buck with your gun, and then you can kill two with your archery tags.
Yeah,
So it can be pretty detrimental, and a lot of year-and-a-half old deer die because a lot of people don't care what they shoot, and all the power to them. If you want to shoot spike, by all means do it. But you go to a check station on an open day, and it's like spike, 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 nice 8-pointer, spike, spike, 3-pointer, 4-pointer, and I just don't think we have the age class like Massachusetts does, and Mass I think does a lot better job with
yeah.
putting gun season post rut. A lot of the
I
mature deer get to
totally
live, and
agree.
they get to go back into the their safe zones per se, once they're done rutting. And it's nothing to go out and either hang cameras or just do some scouting and find some serious bucks on Mass. And it's like New Hampshire. I don't know if Dan's in the same boat, but
Yep.
I mean, I put some boots to the ground around here, and I'm struggling this year to like even find something that's. I was saying to Dan today, I'm like, I'm just gonna go explore opening weekend in muzzleloader. I have nothing that's like, oh my god, this place is torn up with scrapes or rubs, or all these signposts are getting hit. It's like I have nothing, like not nothing. I have some like a little bit of stuff going on, but nothing that is making me really eager to get out. I think I'm just gonna explore a lot with my New Hampshire gun tag this year.
That's fun though. Like at
Yeah,
least when you don't have any, like you're not pinned down on something, you're like, all right,
yeah,
I'm just gonna go wander and do some still
yeah,
hunting. I mean that I love that sometimes.
yeah. Go sit over a swamp or a scrape, or just go
Yep.
walk until I find a scrape that's worth hunting. Find a big community scrape that's torn up, and then just burn it till the wheels fall off. But or just a good funnel. I mean, that's a lot of where I live. It's a lot of suburbs. So it's if you find just a good funnel in between some houses, if there's a swamp or just a good bedding area, it's like if you sit that funnel, you know, 5, 6 nights, you're gonna see deer, and you're probably gonna see a buck at some point. But it's not how it used to be. New Hampshire,
I
I would say,
wonder.
and it's a lot of people. It's not just me. Like there's a lot of people that are notorious killers in this area that usually kill a good buck every year, and everyone's like, what is going on? And this year and last year,
What's the point of having 3 buck tags? It just seems excessive.
overkill. It is.
I think so. The statistics behind that, it is there are so few people. There's only like a few people in the state that'll use all 3 buck tags.
Right.
There's more that use the
But
two.
the people who do use all 3 buck tags are most likely guys who are mature buck killers. The
Yeah,
guys who can actually fill all 3 of them, they're most likely. So again, that kind of goes against letting your herd get to an older age class. I've heard that argument before too. It's like in Vermont they use that. They went down to a 1 buck tag in Vermont. It was 2 for a while, and they were like, look, it's like 1%, or it's like 80 people have filled 2 buck tags in Vermont the years before.
yeah, yeah.
So they're like, it's not changing that much, that much opportunity.
But like
But
you said, it's the guys that are efficient and good, like that are good hunters are the ones
have a
that are,
lot of time too. Yeah.
and a lot of
Yeah.
time they're the ones that are killing $2 or $3 a year. And like Dan said, there's very few people in New Hampshire that do it, but there's guys that do it every year.
I think the biggest problem with the multi-buck system like that is that there are a lot of people, the vast majority, and this is exactly what you were talking about, Champa. I think a lot of people knowing that they have another tag, or they have their gun tag but also bow tag, they will not hesitate to shoot a small buck because, oh yeah, I'll shoot that spike horn because, oh, then I'll save my other tag for like a big buck. So I think just knowing that you're not going to tag out causes a lot of people to shoot younger bucks, and I think that probably puts a dent in the buck population more than
100%.
anything.
I agree 100% because like that deer, if I only had one archery tag, that buck that I shot, I probably wouldn't have shot him. Like
Yeah, right. Yeah,
you have all the way into November where it's like this, these past few days and these days leading up to our muzzleloader season are some of the best days of the year. Besides, where you're gonna get a buck that's thinking with the wrong head chasing does, but it definitely doesn't cause people to be selective at all. It's like you said, I still have another buck tag in my pocket with my bow, and I can use that. Say I'm fortunate enough to go out and kill a buck with my muzzleloader or with my rifle. I still have a buck tag in my pocket, so it's like
yeah,
I can still go bow hunt and go shoot another buck, which is
yeah,
it's absurd to me. It's like, and don't get me wrong, I guess I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because I've done it, but in the same breath, I'm still gonna hunt. I pay for the license, I pay for the tags, and I love to hunt, so I'm still gonna hunt if the opportunity presents itself.
I'm a complete hypocrite. Like I will, I wish everyone else had one back tag, but I love the fact that I have three.
Yeah, yeah,
Just like super selfishly, like it's
right.
awesome. Like it's super cool. Like we were talking about the other day, Pat. I was like, man, like I'm gonna go out. Like it's not gonna take that much for me to shoot because like I have 6 buck tags this year between the states that I'm hunting. I'm like, man, like I don't even really have to like worry about like running out of tags in any situation. It's cool. It's like that's one of the great parts about the Northeast is we have so many states that are so close that like a lot of these people that hunt like the Midwest, they tag out and that's it for the year because you got to travel 10 hours to go to another state to get another tag. Like it's super cool that we don't have to do that. We have so much cool
We're
opportunity.
centralized. Where Dan and I live. I mean, how far is it from your house to mine, Dan? 45 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so but like you can be to Vermont in an hour and 45 minutes. You can be to Maine in an hour. You can be to
Amazing. Yeah.
Massachusetts in 45 minutes.
Yep.
Like, and I can be to Massachusetts in 10 seconds. I can be to Maine in 35 minutes. I can be to Rhode Island in an hour and 15. I can be to Connecticut in an hour and 15. I can be to Vermont in an hour and 45. Like, it's all within a stone's throw, and they're all $100 over the counter licenses. You can buy them
Yep.
super cheap, and and there's tons of land to hunt too.
Yeah. It's cool, but like we were talking about, because I'm in the exact same boat that Steve is, where I don't have much going on in New Hampshire. There's one buck that I really, really want to shoot. It'd be the biggest buck I've ever shot by far. And this is my third year going after him. But outside of him, like I got nothing going on. Last year, I shot the biggest buck I had, or the second biggest buck I had on camera. The one close to that I know got shot, so like I had nothing that like survived last year, and I was worried about that coming into this year, and it doesn't seem like there's many around, but it's cool. I was like, oh sweet, like I'll hunt mass. Like I got a bunch of good stuff going on in mass, so like that's really cool. I can drive. This spot was like an hour and 15-minute drive. There's other spots that are half-hour drive. It's super cool that it gives you that opportunity. Like even in November, like I talked Nick into coming down and blowing like the first weekend in November. It was like the first weekend of gun in November. I was like, dude, let's go bow hunt mass. I'm like, the rut is so much better in mass. Like you
Yeah,
probably have a better chance with a bow in mass than you do in New Hampshire with a gun that time of year. And he did. He shot like a really nice buck that day, and he's like, oh, this is so cool. And it's one of those things. So we're lucky that we're pretty centrally located in those regards.
right.
Yeah, I just think the way Massachusetts manages the deer herd just through the regulations, I don't know. I think some other state should look at some of that stuff. I mean, if you
I agree.
want mature bucks, if you want mature bucks, it's just the bow season being so long and being in the middle of the rut, and the gun season being very end of the rut, even post rut in some cases is huge. Even the fact that there's no Sunday hunting, like when I first moved
Yeah.
here from Vermont and I started hunting here, I was like, that's crazy. Like I
Mhm.
hate that.
How
But
many times do you have shooters walk by in daylight on Sundays too? Every Sunday. Every
Yeah.
Sunday.
yeah, yeah, on your cameras they light
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
but like that definitely, like, most people are only hunting the weekend. So most people in Massachusetts who get to hunt the weekends, they get 1 day,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Yep.
during gun season, they have 2 days. If they're just gun hunters, which is a lot of people, it's 2 days to go out, and that's why there's a lot of drives and a lot of that stuff going on down here. But all of that turns into plus a lot of it being suburban areas. Some places there's no gun discharges; it's only bow only. Like all of that stuff leads to
Yep.
a mature buck herd,
Right.
and I love it. And I think in places like Vermont and New Hampshire, it's just harder to because most of those guys that hunt Vermont and New Hampshire, they are only hunting weekends as well. And they're going to shoot whatever walks by because they have very limited time. I don't know how you would solve the issues at all, but what are a couple of rules or regulations that each of you would like if you had the dream scenario that New Hampshire could make that you think would contribute to a bigger buck herd?
1 buck and an antler restriction.
Yeah, 100% antler point restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
It
Three
has
on one
worked.
side.
To my knowledge, it has worked in every state that they've done it.
PA.
If
PA is phenomenal.
PA, you used to, I've never hunted PA, but like it used to be where there were like no big bucks. Everyone was just like, there's just so many small bucks. They did it, and I remember it being super controversial back then, and like people were so angry about it.
People were threatening to kill people over it, like state officials and stuff like that. It
Well,
was
people
crazy.
love it now. Like now, there's a
Yeah.
lot of big bucks there. Like if that was the one thing I could change, antler point restrictions,
Mm-hmm.
without a doubt. I wouldn't want to go to a 1 buck state just selfishly. I think it would be great. Like you want the perfect world, like just do like no bucks for like 4 years. We'll just have
Yeah.
it'd be like Iowa here, but I don't want
Right.
that,
I always think about that. What if hunting was just no bucks or even in Massachusetts, like what if like hunting was just outlawed for 2? Obviously, I'm not advocating for this, but if you did,
Right.
what if it was just like when you see it in the Quabbin sometimes where there's
Yeah,
zones that
yeah,
aren't hunted for
exactly.
3 or 4 years, and then you go in there and there's so many mature bucks around.
Yeah.
Um,
And then you get guys that forget to reload their muzzle loader.
that was the day before the Quabbin, but that happened.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
That's funny.
yeah.
I didn't forget to reload it. I just went really slow. I forgot to reload fast.
Yeah. But no, I mean, ideal situation. I think a 3 on 1 side. Like, I went to PA last year and I saw 8 legal bucks in 2 days of hunting. It was like it was absurd. It was like and they were all different deer too. It was like they're moving a lot because I don't know if they're just trying to get the rest of the does there in heat. But their rifle opener is the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and it's like, man, it was last year was the best year I've ever had down there, but it was just, I mean, 8 bucks in 2 days was like unheard of. I saw 3 bucks over 100 inches in one sit on a power line crossing. There was just, the game commission down there, they laid a bunch of logs down, like on where they trimmed on the edge of the power lines, where they cut the power lines back, and the breaks in between the log piles were just highways. And I hit one, and it was just like scrape, 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 and it was just, I'm like, wow, this is the spot to be. So I just sat right on that power line. I saw 3 deer over 100 inches in one night. I was like,
And you passed them?
I shot my buck that first thing that morning, and it was a basket rack 6-pointer. I was like, oh my god! And I just videoed all 3 of them go across. I'm like, it's so dear. But
I love it.
That's
yeah,
the hard thing. The only thing with the antler restrictions is you if it's 3 points on one side, you know, first time a yearling 6-pointer or a 2-year-old 6-pointer comes by, those are getting blasted too.
oh yeah, especially when you go down there for us, it's a weekend trip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not like
Yeah.
it's not like I spend my whole season in Pennsylvania hunting. So usually it's first legal buck that comes by. He's gonna get it because you spend $200 on the license and you have 2 days to hunt. But in 2 days, I mean, that's a lot of time in PA have opportunity to shoot something legal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of deer down there.
Yeah.
Have you hunted PA, Dan?
Nope.
That's one of the places pretty close to us that I haven't hunted, but I'm interested in going to do it.
Where I hunt in New York is literally on the border of PA. Like literally on the border. Like one of the buck I shot, that video I showed you, that barbed wire fence that he ran into and ripped the post out of the ground, that was actually the PA border, which is kind of interesting.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's great footage
He,
too.
he was in New York when I shot him. You can see it.
Yeah. Lacey Act violation, brother.
So, Steve, what's the rest of your season looking like? Like, what do you got plans on doing? Are you doing any stuff with Just Hunt Club, and what states are you going to? Like, what's the plan?
I can tell you, I'm sure as hell gonna be sick tomorrow. I can tell you that much. I'm definitely gonna be sick tomorrow. Um, and then yeah, the following week, the weekend of the 9th, Brett and I are going to Alberta. We're filming up there. We're both hunting and we both have camera guys. We're doing a rifle hunt in Alberta for a week and then
That'll
coming
be
back.
sweet.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty excited. And then we come back on the 17th. I'm home for like 12 hours. Then I'm going to my camp in Maine for a week. Um, I ran some cameras up there last year, and all my daytime buck activity was, that week before Thanksgiving. So I'm gonna just jump right, pretty much come home, get the wife and kid, go to camp, and then gonna hunt up there for a week, and then
Are they
come
going to
home.
camp with you?
The wife and kid.
Yeah,
Yep, yeah, they're gonna come to camp, and
sweet.
then my uncle will be up there, and one of my high school buddies, him and his dad are gonna come up too. So that's cool. We kind of started doing that last year, so we'll have a little deer camp going on up there, and then come back. I don't think I'm gonna hunt PA this year just because too much going away. Um, and then gonna go to Hanson's for Doe Fest, and then I'll hunt Mass in between then and Christmas, and then in between Christmas and New Year's, I'm going out to Western New York for the holiday hunt, which is a really good time. It's the last 2 years I've gone out there, the weather hasn't been ideal, but it's just huge. It's like Ohio, pretty much, just huge farm country and pretty flat. And if you get good, cold front or just snow or freezing temps, the deer just pounding to those ag fields. And one of these years I'll catch it right when I go out there. So there'll be, John Lewis, Brett, me, Kyle. We'll all be out there for that last week of December, which is a good time.
Nice.
So, yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, you got a pack season.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I pretty much save all my vacation time every year for the fall, November specifically. And it's funny, everybody at work is like, "How many more days you got left till you're gone for the month?" And I'm like, it's down to 9 now, 9 days, and then I'm gone for just about a month. So like, I'm looking forward to that a lot,
Yeah.
especially with this year where I haven't been hunting as much. It's it'll be nice just to detach from the real world and just go and hunt a lot.
Dan, what about you? What's the rest of your season like? Are you
um,
hunting tomorrow, by the way, first of all?
no, I'm not. Because I
Wrong with you,
checked out
boy?
of work on Friday. I gotta catch up on work, and I'm going to drop my deer off at the taxidermist tomorrow afternoon.
You
I'll
want
probably
to
go.
hunt in the morning, Dan?
I kind of do.
You can come hunt our 140-inch 8-pointer with me if you want. We can tag team it.
Oh, look at that! My work plans just got changed. No, I was planning on hunting this whole cold front. Like I haven't really hunted much the past like 2 weeks because I was gonna hit it really hard. These like 5 days of this cold front that's going on right now. So, just kind of chilling right now. I'm super excited for gun to open in New Hampshire because I'm gonna basically I want to spend a lot of time trying to find that big buck that I'm after up here because I don't have really much of a semblance of a pattern. I know where he goes at certain times, but I really want to find that deer and learn that deer. So that's gonna be my big push. But November 14th, I go to Nebraska, which I'm super psyched about. We will be hunting for 5 days there with the rifles for when it opens during the rut. So it is going to be so cool to be in the Midwest for a rut hunt. I cannot wait for that. That's going to be really cool. Like I never do like an out of office with work. Just my work in real estate and everything, you're always kind of like in, and it provides me a lot of opportunity to hunt like during the week and stuff, which is cool. But I'm like actually taking like a vacation, going with my dad. My dad's never hunted outside of New England, so really excited for that. We'll come back from that. If we get snow, like, so I had three goals this year. It was to shoot a buck before November.
Check.
Shoot that big one up here. And then shoot one tracking. I haven't shot one tracking. I haven't been able to give it much time at all the past few years, but I'm going to do whatever. I will go wherever I need to go. These next like 5-6 weeks, once gun starts opening in Maine and New Hampshire and everything, I will go wherever there's snow and like put a good amount of time into that. So,
Nice.
yeah, those are my big plans. And I got drawn for the Quabbin hunt too, which I'm pretty psyched about. It sounds like a interesting experience. So I'm doing that with my buddy. Super psyched for that. And yeah, just see what we can get done around here.
Yeah, it's unique and cool, that Quabbin hunt.
Yeah,
What about
it'd be
you,
cool to
Pat?
do something different.
Well, first I was going to ask you, Champa, what in order to track a buck, what's in the starter kit that you need?
Green
What,
tea.
what does every
100%.
tracker need?
Green tea.
What do you mean?
Green tea. I don't know. Green tea just it's good.
Like you drink it while you're hunting?
Oh, I'm just being a smart ass.
Oh, it's like, dude, I
You need a
tell me
piece of
more.
salami as thick as you can get it cut.
Yep.
Yeah.
A
Need one of them.
meatloaf sandwich you need.
Meatloaf sandwich. You need to have your green plaid on and your lacrosse boots. 7600
Yeah.
open sights.
Oh yeah.
No scopes.
Yep.
Oh,
No scopes. Just peeps. Just peeps. What else? You need some Johnson wool pants, green, with duct tape around the boots. Yep. And you need a fork stick to roast your meatloaf sandwich on.
That's right.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're a killer once you get to that point, man.
God, that meatloaf sandwich was so good at Hunt Stock, though.
Yeah, I had that.
Did you have one? It was so good.
Yeah, I got one towards the end of the night, and I put it in my back pocket. And I had it for like a couple hours, but dude, I stayed pretty late on Saturday night because it was quite a good after party there. And I was driving home, and I'm like, it's like all back roads to get home, and I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna find anything to eat. I was like, holy shit, I got this sandwich. I ate it, and it was like the best thing I had ever eaten.
Had an epiphany. I got a sandwich in my pocket.
Yeah, you toasted it in your back pocket.
Yeah.
Hal doesn't know me, but thanks, Hal.
Yeah. No, for the rest, I mean, I'm pretty much just hunting Massachusetts and then Vermont opener at my deer camp in Vermont. I always go for the opening weekend there. And a few years ago, Vermont changed the law where it used to be like season's always open on Saturday, and then like bow season would run and then close on Sunday before the opener of rifle. And then that midweek, Monday through Friday, you couldn't hunt. It was just closed to everything. But a few years ago, they changed it so that bow season runs all the way to the end of the year. So it starts and then it runs through the end of the year. So
Like, yeah,
it doesn't end on a Sunday anymore. So I like to go out now on Thursday night and bring my bow, hunt Friday, the day before the opener of rifle. I hunt with my bow, and then Saturday take out the rifle. It's just kind of fun. I've never killed one doing that, but it's pretty fun doing that.
That's cool.
Can we get the air guitar of you with your bow right now?
I don't even have it in here.
Damn.
Yeah. So just doing Vermont opener and then hunting Mass, trying to get both my bucks down here. I really want to get that buck I'm calling Spooky. I mean, he's I think I've got the best chance at him out of any deer that I've ever hunted before. Like I've got a good chance at him. It's just if these next few weeks when I'm not going to be able to get out much because my wife's working and I'm going to be home with the kids. It's just I got to, like you said, Champa, like not count sits and just make the sits count. And tomorrow morning, I think, is my best chance over the next few weeks. Yeah. I don't know that I do know that he's a deer that wanders. I talked to I don't know if you guys ever do this, but I called the conservation office of the town and talk to them about places you can hunt, places that are off limits, and then we just ended up having a half an hour conversation, and I learned so much about that buck just from that conversation too, like where he's been spotted, where the person I was talking to has personally seen them while out walking, taking a hike in the woods. And he does do a bit amount of traveling, but I know that he always comes back to this core because the landowner who's given me permission to hunt his property and access through there is basically what I'm doing is parking in his driveway, and he gives me really slick access. Everybody else accesses from the public side on the other side. It's a super heavily hunted area too. Stands everywhere in there, public land. But I know that he goes back there in December and January because that's when the landowner has him in his yard all the time. Like he's
Is there
got,
oaks in there?
yeah, tons of oaks.
Is there acorns on them?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It'd be a good place to kill them late season too if you don't kill them now.
Right. Right. So I think he'll take jaunts out of that core area during the rut. Of course he will. He's been seen mile away, a mile and a half away. He'll take jaunts out of there once the does are all out of their heat or bred in his core there. But I think just the way he travels, he's super smart and he gets back into that core anyway. But I still think tomorrow is going to be my best chance. I might be able to get a sit. Well, I have to hunt him on Halloween morning because I called him spooky.
Yeah.
If I kill him on Halloween,
We all are saying that. You're going to kill him on Halloween.
So I'll get a morning sit in on Thursday too if I don't get him tomorrow, and then maybe I can Friday because the wife's home from work. But we'll see. I think this week's my best chance. After that, somebody else could get him when he starts going on, doing some big loops. But that's my number one goal is to get him, and then I've got a bunch of 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds, around here. Dan, in that spot that we hunted together, there's a lot of bucks, like 7 or 8 bucks that are 4 years old in there. And I won't be picky with the second tag. And I won't be picky either. Like on Tuesday morning, I'm going to go out just for an hour and a half, and then I got to get back here. I'm getting a fence put in, and Austin's home from school. But that morning, I'm going to go hunt that spot, Dan. And if, 125-inch buck comes by, he's getting killed. And then I know at that point, if I do that before I kill Spooky, if I get 1 buck tag, I'm going to scoop up all of my cell cams that I have around here and just not care about anything and just move it all into, Spooky's location. I'm just going to take all my trail cameras down around here because I don't need them anymore. And I'm just going to flood that place and just see if I can learn more.
I would do that anyways. That bug is ridiculous.
Yeah. But, yep.
It'll be good. It'll take the pressure off if you shoot, and not that there's a pressure to shoot something, but it'll make you feel better. Like, okay, this tag is dedicated to this one deer. Like I'm not shooting anything but this deer.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely don't feel any pressure.
Internal pressure. I do. I was like, that's part of the reason I wanted to shoot one before November so badly this year is because when I don't, I find that I hunt so much worse. Like I feel like I'm gonna have a pretty good year now because like I'm just gonna hunt like more relaxed and just like have more fun. Like I don't know. I put like this internal pressure on myself for sure, and when I shoot a buck early on in the year, I usually have like a really good year just because.
Yeah, you killed 4 bucks in 1 year a couple of years ago, didn't you?
Yeah, then like
4 nice ones.
Through the year after, but the last 2 years, it was November 29th and then December 1st were my bucks. But like I struggled, up until then. I start hunting really shitty and just not. I don't know. You just kind of get out of what is right and everything. I don't know. I put pressure on myself.
Well, boys, thanks for getting on. I think we all got to get some. Champa and I got to get some sleep because I got a 4 a.m. alarm. I don't know what yours is, and Dan 3. Damn.
I'm gonna wake up to text from both of you guys saying you doubled up.
That'd be sick. Let's do that.
Yeah,
fingers crossed, man. That'll call for some good sleep tomorrow night.
Oh yeah.
Isn't it the worst though when you shoot a buck and you go to bed like you're still jacked up the next day, but like nothing beats the adrenaline of that day. I don't know if you guys are the same way, but when I shoot a good one, I wake up the next day, I'm like, damn, kind of that feeling back that I had yesterday.
Well, plus you're hungover when you wake up, and it's like,
yeah. That's why we do it.
Yeah.
But all right, boys, we'll be in touch. Let's Champa, good luck tomorrow.
Yeah, likewise, man. Good luck.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Dan, great buck, dude.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Stud man, Dan.
Talk to you guys soon.
See you, buddy.
Bye. See ya.
See ya.